my friend. Who was your fantasy MVP of the 2022 season?
So, if you know me, and Gabe, I'm disappointed in you that
I
you
know.
weren't
I'm
able
sorry.
to guess my fantasy MVP. And I guess like it wouldn't be at the top of your head, like, you wouldn't think this right away. But my fantasy MVP for the 2022 season is CeeDee Lamb, aka CeeDee Bam or CeeDee Damn, because he's been killing it all year, all season long. And look, he's a guy who even prior to earning it, everyone was already like anointing him a top 5 guy, like before he ever even like earned it.
That's very
And
true.
that scared me a little bit because I like
We've seen it
it
before
puts
from players in the
puts a
past.
lot of pressure on
Yeah.
him, right? And it's like if he disappoints, it's going to stand out more because people had such high expectations for him. I love the guy. I roster him. We play in 2 dynasty leagues together. I roster him in both. I had him in several redraft leagues. I have him in one of those public dynasty leagues. Normally, the way I play fantasy, and I look, everybody has their own way, their own style, or their own philosophy when it comes to certain aspects of fantasy. And one thing for me is like some people say, "Oh, I want to have all the same players on all my teams because I don't want to be facing against those guys later on, and I just want to root for my guys." Some people like me, I like to diversify my portfolio when it comes to my fantasy team. So I spread the love. If I have, Jamar Chase in 2 leagues already, I draft somebody else, even though he might be the right choice at that time in the draft. I do
Come
that.
on.
When it
We're
comes
2 peas of the same pod, Jacob.
to CeeDee Lamb, throw all that out the window. Give me him in every single league. I will trade for him in every dynasty league. I want him in our keeper league. If our league mates are listening, send the offers. Give them to me. I want him in every single league. I'll trade anything for him. Like, he's my guy. And I think sky's the limit for him. But look, before the season started, we talked about narratives that we're looking forward to during the fantasy season. And mine was CeeDee Lamb. I don't know. I forget what yours was. I don't know if you remember this, but mine was CeeDee Lamb. It was just a storyline that we're interested in that is compelling to us. And
Sure,
I
sure, sure.
said, his expectations on him are super high. He's going to finish as a top 5 guy. In full PPR, he finished as the number 5 wide receiver. And I'm pretty sure it might be Justin Jefferson, but CeeDee Lamb was getting like 11 targets a game, but I might be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure he either led the league in targets or he must be top 2 or 3. But I'm going to have to look into that. But if you look at his game logs, he's getting 10, 11, 12. Like it rarely ever went below 9 targets a game. Like he absolutely was and getting all that love. And what do we say about fantasy? Talent and opportunity. He has all the talent in the world. He's getting all the opportunity in the world. And for me, he delivered on the promise. That's why he's my fantasy MVP. Personal reasons, I roster him in a ton of leagues, but also to me, he didn't put those expectations on himself. We did. And I say we as a fantasy community. And he said, all right, you guys are going to put that on me? Let me show you. And he did it. And he had an interview on, I think it was NBC, on the Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry. And he's so cocky. They asked him, what cornerback scares you in the NFL? And he laughed. He said, scares me. He said, nah. And then they were like, all right. Which cornerback do you respect in the NFL? He was like, all right. And then he answered the question. But I love the guy. He's awesome.
Jacob, bringing the passion, dude. I love it. You're saying some Goodwill Hunting lines today. You're giving these beautiful anecdotals of just like these stories throughout the year that summarize the passion you have for fantasy football, and I love it.
Did you figure out the targets? Yeah.
Yeah. He was 4th in targets with 149.
Okay.
Justin Jefferson did lead the league with 179. He had an average of just under 10 targets a game. Justin Jefferson had 11.2. So not too far off, in reality.
I'm wondering who helped us more in the fantasy playoffs and championships.
Well, that's what I was going to allude to. I'll bring up the graphic again. If you had CD Lamb, he gave you 3 number 1 wide receiver 1 finishes in the fantasy playoffs, which certainly guided you to success in the fantasy playoffs, Jacob. So congratulations to you and your fantasy MVP for the 2022 season. See